I know you can see me. Can you hear me? All right. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Bad to Business. I am Shining Saffron. Thank you for hopefully trying to stick in with me. We had some technical difficulties, but dealing with systems, it just happens like that. So I'm going to give a couple of people a minute to check in with me. I know there's some people who wanted to hear this conversation. Y'all have been hitting me up, asking me what's going on. I've been trying to, work some things out. But thank you for sticking in. Jazz, you can hear me, right?
Yep, I sure can.
I got a co-host. Her name is Jazz.
Hey,
Jazz, if you don't mind, I'm going to give a couple of people a second to check in before I you know, go into this show. I think this is really going to be a good one. I thank you for co-hosting with me, making sure that this goes smoothly. And so let's give the people a minute to check in. Hello, hello, hello. Jazz, how you feeling tonight? Let's go ahead and get this rolling. How you feeling?
it's a good day. It's Friday. It's the weekend. Things are happening. It's a great day, man. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't have any complaints, and even if I did, I mean, God is already solving those, so I'm working it out.
Heck yeah.
I Again, I thank you for sticking in with me. I know we had some technical difficulties connecting and stuff, so thank you for sticking with me. As I said, I'm just giving some people a second to check back in. I'm getting back to some people about they were looking for the show, so we are looking for them to tap in, tap in, tap in with your girl, tap in with your girl, tap in with your girls. So we're gonna keep this moving right along because I don't want to run out of time. Anybody who cannot tap in right now, you can go ahead and check the replays on YouTube, on iHeart, on Substack, on all these things that you subscribe to at the Crew Podcast 23. You can follow up and find out what you missed. So right now, I'm not gonna be too concerned on who cannot. Hey, 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 Yaya. Glad you could tap in. Glad you can. All right, we know the ball is rolling now. All right, so
Hey,
everybody's able to tap in. Everybody's able to tap in. Hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening.
mm,
Just give it a couple of more minutes. Now, I do not want to run out of time on the topic, but I do want some people to be able to have some time to tap in. I know it's a little late for me to check in, but we got a good show for you, right, Jazz? Got a good show.
heck yeah. We got a great show.
Give me just a second and give everybody a second to tap in. Um, I am going to just make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Um, so that everybody knows to tap in. Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving though because that's what we do. We keep moving,
Heck yeah. Gotta keep moving.
of course. Welcome to another episode of Bad to Business. I am your host, Shining Saffron. Thank you for joining me. Bad to Business is B.A.D.D, an acronym for bringing all diverse discussions to business. I have the pleasure of having my co-host, Miss Jazzy Younger. Hello, Jazzy.
Hey,
How
hey, what's going on, everybody?
are you doing? How are you doing? It's
Great,
always
great.
a pleasure to have you on because you have such a you have just a great conversation. We have a great conversation. So, and you have a diverse point of view. So, hey, Carlene, hello, hello. Thank you for tapping in. I know we kind of late, but thanks for tapping in. So again, I just want to welcome everybody to Bad to Business, and today we are talking about family matters. Jazzy and I have talked about this periodically through different conversations and stuff. So I'm glad to actually bring this to the business table. So while we're talking about it, we just gonna go ahead and let's get down to business. Since we kind of missed a little bit of time, we're gonna go ahead and get down to business so we don't miss any more time. So again, Jazzy, you okay? You ready?
Yep. I'm ready. Let's go.
So, the topic of conversation tonight is family matters, traditions, and generational setbacks. We want to talk tonight about what type of traditions that you have kept that has enhanced your family, and what generational. Let me get this word together. What generational setbacks are and were a struggle through you to go through to ensure that it did not affect your bloodline. So,
Mhm.
Jazzy, I'm going to kind of pose that question to you tonight. So, first and foremost, let me go ahead and ask you what type of, what trend, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this over because I'm kind of flustered. I'm upset that we have started late. Let me be honest. I'm trying to make sure that we get all the information that we wanted to give you all in this time frame that we have. So I'm gonna calm down. I'm so glad that we have a co-host. Thank you, Jazz. I'm so glad that we have a co-host tonight. Let me go ahead and be vulnerable for a second. As Jazz I like to be so organized, and I know that things cannot run perfectly smooth, right? But I plan things and I try things to go so perfectly planned that when they go off a plan, I kind of get a little flustered. So that's a little piece of
Fine.
vulnerability of me. Um, and that's why I'm so glad to have people like Jazz on my team that says, hey, things are okay. You know, it's not going to always go according to your plan, but as long as it goes according to his will, right? We're
Oh,
going to be okay.
always. Yep.
So I'm going to
Yes.
breathe.
Deep breath. Take a deep breath. We got this.
All right. So thank you to everybody who joined in. I see Zilly who said I finally made it. We finally
Yay, Billy.
all right. So let's rewind it back real quick. I
Go.
am your host, Shining Saffron. I am the host of Bad to Business. B.A.D.D is a acronym for bringing all diverse discussions to business. I have a special co-host, Jazzy, who is going to help me deliver this message today. Her and I have talked about different things concerning family matters, and I think it's very important that we share it with everybody today. So, welcome, Jazzy. How are you feeling today?
Hey, I'm great. I'm great. Take two.
All right, thank you so much. But because we started a little bit late, we're gonna go ahead and jumpstart this, and we're gonna get into it. So, thank you everybody for joining. Everybody who's listening. We wanted to bring some family matters to the table. Um, the topic question is what is a tradition that you have kept that has enhanced your family, right? And then that you have just maybe first let me go back. I did a definition just to make sure that we are all on the same accord of what a family tradition is. um a family tradition is repeated activities that hold a special meaning, shared experiences that help build a strong family identity and create memories. And an example is holiday gatherings, vacations, game nights, or family meals. And the importance of these things are it helps to build the identities of an individual, which defines family and shared culture, provides stability, which like predict predict I can't get this word right, and I understand it, but it's predictability. There we go, and routines. So basically, it just basically says that we are establishing what type of routines and what we expect in our families. Okay.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
strengthen connections, which reinforce family bonds. Okay. Those are family traditions. Now, we also want to know what type of family uh setbacks, what type of generational setbacks that you have had to grow from or try to endure, that make sure that you don't continue those in your bloodline. So tonight I want to kind of start with you, Jazz. You and I have dialogued before, and I know that you have some things that you want to talk about as well as I do. So I'm gonna start with you. So what type of family traditions have you kept that kind of kept your family glued together?
Ooh, so I would say Christmas is probably the biggest holiday that we celebrate. I mean, it's the time that we can get together. Sometimes we can have family come in depending on what's going on. But I remember as a kid growing up, like my mom would every year when it starts, as soon as Thanksgiving hit, decorations go up. We're driving the city, looking at lights, listening to Christmas music. I remember, and it's funny because I actually talked about this a couple days ago, like with some coworkers of mine. I remember this house where we would drive down, and they had a glass garage door, and they had an entire town set up with Christmas and lights and, little statues that danced. And it was just amazing to see it every single year. And even to this day, every year for Christmas, I will drive around no matter where I'm living. I will drive around and go look at Christmas lights. I will find, where they're having like the drive throughs or whatever, where you can like tune your radio station to the station and all the lights dance to the music. It's harder as I've gotten older because I have been moving around to get back home for Christmas, but it's still there. My mom still decorates. I still try to decorate. And like I said, I still drive around every single year. I don't care what I'm doing. At least one night during the holiday season, I'm driving around and looking at Christmas lights. So, I mean, that's one thing I will say has been deeply rooted for me personally. Like that's one thing that I will continue to probably do because I enjoy it. I enjoy the holidays and the lights.
Is it
What
more so just Christmas holiday or holidays itself?
I mean, the Christmas holiday is the most special because again, you got all the lights and everything like that. I mean, we celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. But Christmas seems to be the one where it's like we get to eat, we get to see family, and we get a show. You get a light spectacular.
That's
I mean, what about you?
well, as far as traditions and stuff like that, of course I had families that, I had a family that did different things. We celebrated birthdays, we celebrated Christmas and stuff like that. But to be totally honest, I don't think that I had anything that actually stuck. Um
Mhm.
that I can call a tradition. Now, well, let me take that back. I am the baby of six siblings.
Okay.
Um, and as far as my siblings go, um, they did when it came to celebrating Easter and holidays and stuff. Grandma Erin, God rest her soul. Um, we always went to Grandma Erin's house. That was always a safe haven. It was so many memories there. And we always celebrated. I couldn't even tell you what a tradition was. The tradition was if there was a celebration, we're meeting at Grandma Erin's house.
Mhm.
Shout out to Pasadena, California, because that's what
Hey.
kept celebrations the celebrations going. So I have to say that if that's the case, there was a tradition. There was it's a tradition of celebrations that was when there was a maybe a significant birthday, meaning somebody of age, a senior in the family or something like that. We celebrated it there. Any holidays, we celebrated it there. So we all got together at Grandma Erin's house. But to be honest, then Grandma Erin passed away.
Mhm.
So I cannot, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't tell you that there's been meetings after Grandma Erin.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that's where we're bringing this to discussion today and bringing it to the table today. Some traditions tend to, I won't say die, but fade out. So
Yeah.
I can tell you that the traditions with Grandma Erin and Grandma Erin's house of us meeting and different things have faded out when
Mhm.
he passed away. So, as far as just some traditions, I'm glad to hear that Christmas is still something. I know you travel. I know you do different things, and wherever you're able to go, different jobs, different opportunities for you. I know you travel, so I know that keeping a tradition of Christmas is it's pretty good. And at least it's just a once a year kind of thing. You don't have to try to get together on different occasions. If
Yeah.
you know that Christmas is your family's holiday, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I hope that you make time, not find time for that, because
Right.
finding time is hard, but making time is what we need to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's awesome. But let me do a little twist on that now. So what generational setbacks are or were a struggle to grow through to ensure the effects don't continue down your bloodline?
Mm.
Do you know of any, generational without putting your family on blast or whatever, but even
No, yeah,
in
exactly.
in individuality, is there any individual setbacks that you feel like that you had to grow from, or that you had to realize that you had to be an adult about, and make sure that the rest of your bloodline doesn't suffer from that?
I can't honestly say that I have.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, not to where, I mean, because I don't have kids yet.
Okay.
Um, and so I just feel like I wouldn't say there's been anything for me.
Okay.
Because there's always been togetherness. Yeah,
Okay.
there's all like my side of the like our family is semi small. I mean, the extended family, it makes it a lot bigger, but like my mom's side of the family, like where most of our traditions come from, I mean, I wouldn't say there's really any setbacks except for there's no family left really to celebrate, you know?
Ooh.
And then everybody's like so far apart, it's kind of hard getting close. But I mean,
Ooh.
there's ways to, fix that and get together, which, we'll discuss on. But I would definitely say, as far as like generational setbacks, I wouldn't really say not really, not for me.
Okay. Okay.
you
Um.
know?
Well, and again, as far as a generational setback, just to flip that on me, I don't really see anything that has. I think that's what you're saying, that has actually hindered me,
Right.
per se, to from my growth as an individual. Now I do have kids, but I don't think that there's been anything that has actually hindered my growth that I'm passing down generationally. Now, I do have some things within myself that I do not want to pass down to my children, and
Right.
that's another thing that I would probably pose the question to you. Make sure, or is there anything that you can identify as yourself right now? You said you don't have kids. Cool. Is there anything that you can identify in yourself that you would like to change before you accidentally pass that down to your generations, once you, because you're still young, you're gonna have kids, I understand that, and you still plan to have kids. So
Yeah,
is there anything about yourself that you have maybe obtained through life that you want to make sure that you don't pass down to your bloodline?
definitely. I would definitely say shutting down is probably one of my biggest things that I have the hardest time not doing, whether it's like in an argument or like, because I'm not a person that like, I like to fight. I don't like to fight. I'm non-confrontational. And if it gets too heated, I'm shutting down. I'm shutting down. I'm walking away. We're not talking about it. And I don't know if I want to talk about it later because I feel like it needs to be squashed. But at the same time, it's like depending on the approach, I'm not going to take it very well. And I will shut down in a heartbeat.
Well,
And
I think what you're saying is I don't want to fight about it. You know,
No.
if we're going to come to some type of terms about it, and we're leading into that. But if we're going to come to some type of common terms about it, I definitely don't want to fight about it. And if it comes time to a type of conflict or fight, I'm good. I can
Yeah,
see.
right.
I,
Right.
I I'm good.
Yeah.
However, I will say that that may lead to some problems too,
Yeah.
because just shutting down, like you said, conceding, shutting down. Now, I remember a quote from Dr. Phil that said, "You want to get along, or you want to be right." Now, one of my family members brought it to my attention that says, "How come if I'm gonna be right, I can't get along?"
That.
It comes to a point where, and you got to find that leverage where
Yeah.
being right doesn't mean proving it,
Right.
right?
I've
You
learned that. Yeah.
you can be right in your own right, but do you
Right.
have to prove it
To the point of argument back and forth. No, you don't. You don't.
to the
And
point
that's what I've
of,
learned.
even if there you have settled something in yourself that you are right, and or you're owning your own right, and that, or you are right in your own right, and you have accepted what the other person has not accepted from you, like kind of like you agree to disagree, right?
Exactly.
And you're okay with that. Be okay with that, right?
Right.
Sometimes that's considered not okay. Some
That.
people
I,
want a final resolution in something, and that's where we're coming into even family conflict. Some family
hmm
wants a final resolution to something, and sometimes that don't happen. That don't happen,
Nah.
and that's what we're
You
talking
know.
about tonight. So I have had some people to, while we are talking about um generational setbacks and traditions, I've had some people who did reach out. Just real quick, I've had some people who reached out anonymously, and I've had some people who reached out publicly. And I'm just gonna keep it 100 and just leave everybody anonymous. So I hope that those who did reach out to me, I did give you the link so that you can catch me and Jazzy talking about the conversation. But I will leave you anonymous. But I will talk about some of the things that you brought to my attention. So one of the things is, somebody brought to my attention that they wanted to discuss that they have dealt with alcohol addiction in their family,
Mm-hmm.
and they felt as though what they were going through was just what they were going to go through. Um,
Ooh.
this is what was this is what was set in their family, and they
Mm-hmm.
just had to find their way around it. And that's one of the questions, like, what is a generational setback that you had to try to find your way around, even to make
Try to
sure
avoid
that it
it
didn't
all
affect your
costs.
bloodline, right? you know um and so that was one of the things that somebody said, that I did not want to um have somebody, have the addiction to alcohol. And to be honest, I did not go too far into it with this person, as far as, well, the person that preceded you had an alcohol addiction, how did you get addicted? I'm not going to be honest, I did not get into that. But
Nah.
however, this person, after the person preceded them, their dad, their mother, whatever, had alcohol addiction, they got addicted to alcohol.
Yeah.
The great thing about what they did is, and let me go ahead and go back to, I discussed what family traditions are. Let's define generational setbacks, right? What I looked at and defined generational setbacks is the cycle slash transmission of negative patterns, traits, or misfortunes through generations.
Mm-hmm.
The cycle of negative patterns or misfortunes through traditions. And so, i.e., reoccurring family issues, mental or physical ailments, learned behaviors, epigenetics. And we won't get into that just yet, but it's more
Yeah.
so, this is what I learned. Let's go and learn behavior, because that's the
Yeah.
easiest. That's what you saw, that's what you grew up on. So I want to believe, or I want to assume or even suggest, because I didn't go too far into it, that this person learned this behavior of drinking
Mhm.
as a coping mechanism.
Right.
I didn't look at it as something that was a great thing or something fun to do. I looked at it as a coping mechanism. But as she stated, I learned that that was not the thing to cope with. Not only did she learn it, but she looked up some data and found out that she could help others.
Mhm.
I will look more into her information, and if she's willing to let me share it, I'll get into that. But just to go into generational setbacks, I was so glad that she tapped in to talk about alcoholism.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of the easiest behavioral influences that we could have. That and you don't think that, and I, again, you said you don't have children yet, but it's very influential and easy for a child to see a bottle while a parent is crying, while a parent is dealing with stress, while
Yeah.
a parent or guardian is dealing with something, to see a bottle while they're dealing with something and say, I'm good. When you go to ask them, like my daughters come to me, and I say I'm good. No, I don't have a bottle in front of me. Um, but I've been able to teach my kids that I pray a lot. I
Yeah.
keep Jesus in front of me. I keep the Lord in front of me. I keep his promises in front of me that allow me to teach them that, right? So, as far as generational setbacks, again, the cycle of negative patterns, traits, or misfortunes through generations. Reoccurring family issues such as mental and physical ailments, learned behaviors like alcoholism, violence, and or poverty.
Mhm.
And the epigenetics of it suggest severe stress, trauma that can cause effects on gene expression. Gene
Mm.
expression, and you and I will talk about that. Right? I'm so glad you on that, because that lets me know you're a little in tune. Gene expression in descendants, even if they didn't experience the trauma themselves.
Yeah.
Gene expression.
Yeah.
So that is passing it down. That is
Mhm.
fighting in front of your kids. That is showing them a bottle when you're dealing with something.
Yep.
That is them smelling marijuana smoke when you dealing with something. That is them learning what you do to deal with something.
Right.
So that is starting that. So I just wanted to give those definitions. I know we got so much more to talk about. You and I trying to fly past this, but um, just the fact that there are, you know, traditions, family traditions that we carry on that will benefit and help us to grow,
Yep.
i.e., Christmas, that allows you to, even though no one, just because you travel and just because you don't have children or whatever the case may be, just because you are like, where in the world is Carmen San Diego, you still make sure that you keep a Christmas tradition because it's important to your family. You try to make it home. You try to do those things. We see movies about it all the time. So that's important. And then you got the family setbacks that you try to avoid going down your
Mhm.
generations, the negative effects, the alcoholism, the abuse. One of the things I looked up says it's alcoholism, it's conflict, it's neglect, it's abuse, right? We'll get all into that. But all those factors that lead into just a bad generational setback.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can.
you keep something good. Okay, so moving along. Let's talk pros and cons of just, traditions and generational setbacks. We discussed a little bit about it right now. The pros of it is, you get to keep things, keep cultures, keep traditions, keep those things that are happy in your life, even when you don't feel the happiness anywhere else in your life. And then you
Mhm.
got the cons of the setbacks, alcoholism, abuse, and anything else like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you and I have talked about how, regardless of if it's the pro side of teaching traditions young, or it's the cons of inheriting the bad things of traditions, the generational setbacks, um, all of it or both things. Starting young can affect how you grow into things, right? And then you
Oh,
said something to me. We started something about your 21-day fix. So how do you feel like, and incorporating your point, how do you feel like starting young with a generation and possibly just keeping that routine, repetition, of course, can contribute to doing better things?
well, because like you said, with the 21-day fix, it is an exercise program that basically you change your way of thinking. Like basically, and there's been studies to show that you can break or build a habit in just 3 weeks. 21 days is all it takes. Now, we are talking more long term than that. You can't just start a tradition in 21 days. Haha, I got it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what we're talking about is anything that you do, if you do it often enough, consistency is always key. So if you do that
Correct.
often enough, just like we said, as a kid, every year we decorated for Christmas. Every year we celebrated my birthday in Paso. Every year we had a golf tournament. Every year, like, we were doing family things throughout the year, but Christmas was that one time where, okay, we eat, everybody gets together, it's into New Year's. Like, I remember one year we had the best New Year's party ever. Like, after Christmas, everybody came down from Christmas, like, stayed through New Year's. We had, karaoke. Like, it was a great time. So that started when I was young and got all the way into my teen years, adult years, until we all moved. Like I said, we all moved away. Like, we moved out of California, everybody else stayed in California. Then eventually
Hmm.
they, migrated towards the east. But everybody's in a different area now. And just like we said, with the traditions and the setbacks, that can all start at a very young age. Your kids see you drinking and smoking or whatever, and they pick that up as they get older. Like, no, they don't have to say no because, oh, my mom does it, or they sneak in and steal what their parents have. There's different things that can happen with both sides of it. But the main point of it is everything takes consistency, or yeah,
Correct.
everything, you got to be consistent with it. So whether it's every year you do something, like have a family vacation, it doesn't have to be Christmas. You could just take every summer, the kids are out of school, we all go somewhere for summer. Every single year we do that. And you start doing that. And then when those kids grow up, they remember, hey, we went to so and so every single year. Like, when I have kids, I'm going to make sure they're more they tend to do those things more often.
Hmm.
Like I said, whether it's positive or negative, regardless of what it is. But that's what I mean. Like, studies have shown, like I said, it takes 3 weeks to build or break a habit. So
Right.
just like with anything else, you got to be consistent. Every year we build something together and we do it. But there's sometimes not enough of that. Or sometimes, like you said, it falls off after an important person of the family is no longer with us. We fall off those traditions because either A, it's too painful to go back to where that person was, if the house is still there, if it hasn't been sold, whatever the case may be, or you
Right.
just feel like, you know what, we stopped doing it, it's fine, we'll do something else, or we don't do anything at all. It just depends. So, like I said, it can be both sides, and it just depends whether it's positive or negative.
Well, I think overall, even with your 21-day fix or challenge, is that repetition is
That.
important. Even if repetition, even in your shoes, repetition is every December. Every
Mhm.
December, you need to make sure, and hell, you got all year
To
to make
plan.
sure. And as we're learning, everybody always wants to say life is short. You don't know how much time we have.
No, we
You just
don't.
need to know that you need to spend your time wisely. Same way you
That.
spend your money wisely. Is that I don't know how much time I have. That's the only reason why we can say life is short because we don't know.
No, we don't.
So, yes, life is short because you don't know how long you have. So, even with that being said, the repetition of making sure that you are there every Christmas. Now, when you do have kids, and I know that that is in your very near future, I know that you're planning, and you're one of the fortunate that get to plan your life out. Salute
I
to you.
mean,
I'm so glad that you get to plan your life out. But I know that this Christmas tradition is important to you and your family and your mom, so that you will start to get your kids on that. You know what I mean? And so,
yep.
again, this is where we're talking about traditions that can help enhance the family and grow them as family versus um, generational setbacks that tear down your family. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're not going to keep on talking about that. I want to talk about a couple of points that I had kind of brought up with some other people. So I'm going to bring them up individually. So I'm going to, say some. It's almost like the game show password, right? So I'm going to bring up some keywords, and I'm going to see what you think about them. So let's talk boundaries or binds. Boundaries or binding some things. How do you feel about setting boundaries, and how do you feel about binding some things? And I'm just going to give a quick, cute example. I feel very strongly about binding the devil and my adversaries to the boundaries of hell. Okay, I feel very serious about finding boundaries and binding some things to where they need to be. How do
Yes.
you feel about boundaries and binding? And again, I know that you don't have children, so you don't have to look so keen into everybody, but it is about self awareness. So, how do
Well,
you feel
no,
about
I mean, that's
right?
anybody. Everybody can. I mean, basically, what is it? Boundaries is where you have a line set. Don't cross this line. Okay, we're not doing. Binding is there's a restriction. Like, ain't no there. Don't come near me.
You
Okay,
won't even be able to. I
exactly.
bound
So
I've wrapped you up.
I
Right?
definitely feel like there needs to be both of those. You have to set boundaries within your life because you need to be able to have peace in your life. So boundaries and bind need to be set with certain people, certain things, certain behaviors, all that. I definitely agree with both. It
Both.
just depends on where both need to be applied.
Gotcha. So we
Yeah.
are talking again boundaries and binding,
Yeah.
or boundaries or binding.
For
There
binding. Yep.
that it is and or that is something that you need to consider. There are
Yeah.
some things that need to have boundaries or binding. There are
Yeah.
some things that have to have boundaries, and I don't know if it has to have boundaries and binding, because you need to choose which one needs to be which, right?
Exactly.
Some things just have to have boundaries, like you said. Don't cross this versus you can't cross this. There's a little bit of a leniency of um expectancy or respect, or
Mhm.
you know I give you a little bit in boundary.
Mhm.
I'm giving you a little leniency in making sure that we can compromise, but you don't cross a line.
Moderation.
That's a boundary. Whether
Yep.
and it's in family. It's in family, relationships, family. But then
Everywhere.
there's a binding where you just say, I'm not going to accept certain things. Just not
Yep.
going to do that. Again, where I use the example, I will bind the adversaries to the depths of hell. You got to go there. I have no compromise with you. Right. So, all right, let's go with the next one. How about protection versus rejection? And I'm talking about protecting your peace. Do you have to reject people to protect yourself? Or can you protect yourself um, in a way that it does not reject people? I.e., again, the whole point is family matters and bringing family to a unity. So we don't want to necessarily reject, but do you have to reject to protect your peace? How do you feel?
Yes. I mean,
Mm.
point you do. I mean, and unfortunately with that, some people, family or friend, may not be in your life any longer. And I don't mean they're not there. They're just someone you don't deal with. I'm actually going through that myself where I had to stop dealing with someone to protect myself. And I don't regret that decision. Um, I feel 100% that sometimes, depending on the person, I mean,
Okay.
everybody's different.
That's what I was gonna get into.
Everybody's different. Depending on
Okay.
the person, I do feel like you have to reject them in order to protect your peace. You can always protect your own peace, but there's just
Correct.
sometimes that person or sometimes people that you are just like, I can't even be around you in any type of form at all.
Well, and I can understand that, and I'm glad that you opened yourself to saying it could go the other way, because I'm a little bit different. I don't necessarily have to reject you to protect myself. I am one that believes in the motto, know who you're dealing with so you know how to deal with them. Knowing how to deal with somebody doesn't necessarily have to reject them, right?
True.
So again, like you said, depends on the person, the capacity, and how my old boss taught me, it's the bandwidth you have. Do you
Yeah,
have enough capacity, brain width, bandwidth to even withstand what somebody is bringing to you? Because you could just say, I'm just not gonna deal with it. I'm good.
that.
Versus somebody that you have to deal with, therefore you can deal with some stuff that they come with. But
Yeah.
it does ultimately come down to protecting your peace. Will you have to come down to rejecting people, rejecting situations, rejecting things to protecting your peace? Or can you learn how to deal with people around your peace? And that's more of the question. Do you feel like you personally, deal with people around protecting your peace? Or do you feel like it's a no go? If you are disturbing my peace, I can't deal with you. You got to go. How do you feel?
No, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Because everybody gets a chance. I'm not just saying you just cut everybody off like the first attempt. Everybody gets a chance. And when you realize that sometimes people's energy is more draining than it should be, you decide
Right.
I can't even really be around you. And you don't have to be mean. You just step back a little bit at a time until maybe, hey, we just not talking anymore.
It's a weaning process.
Yeah, because for both, I mean, if that's someone that you're used to dealing with, or like in the situation, you may have lived with this person for 8 years. You took care of this person. You everything that they needed, you were there to help. And then at some point, it gets to be like, okay, look, you are draining me, and you're because it could come with any kind of abuse. It could be mental, physical, any kind of abuse. You never know what somebody's going through. But that's why I said you sometimes have to reject someone in order to protect yourself. Because your peace is taking little hits every time you deal with this person. And at a certain point you just get tired of it and you're like, I'm not gonna keep doing this anymore. I can't.
That, that's true, because you
Yeah.
don't know their journey. You don't know what they're going through, but you cannot let their hindrance be your burdens either. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
and then I'm always drawn back to, you pray for discernment. God will let you
Yeah,
know when you need to engage into something, when you don't. So
yeah,
um, you either need to support somebody, or you need to step away and let him do what he has already designed to do.
exactly.
So I
Exactly.
tell all right, so that's protection and rejection. Let's talk forgiveness and fault finding. And just to
Mm,
give you an idea of what I mean by those two fusing, is that sometimes people can have an expectancy of apology. So when you call yourself forgiving somebody, but because they have not done the things that they need to do, and again, this is all family oriented. Um, They have not done the things that you feel they need to do to be back in your good graces, or apologize the way they need to apologize, or whatever the case may be. Um, because you are in an expectancy of an apology, then you're not really forgiving.
Mm-mm,
So
mhm,
I know that that's why I put together the two, forgiveness and fault finding, because I find that those two go together. Like, I mean, you can find fault in somebody. Cool. You want to say that they did this, they did that. Cool. But one point that I just brought up this evening while I was talking about another thing is, cool. You want to throw the first stone? No problem. Let's go ahead and build the glass house first, right? Let's go ahead and build that glass house around you before you throw that stone of finding somebody at fault for something that you can't forgive.
mhm.
So this is why I left that for last. So again, trigger words, or just something that I want you to think about. What do you think about forgiveness and fault finding? Or do you find that those should be separate? You might find they're separate, but unfortunately, in families and family matters, they're one and the same. And that's why things can't get together.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, for me, it's separate, but like you said, in a family, it's all one and the same. It's hard to forgive someone for if you feel like you've been wronged in any kind of way.
Hmm.
Even if you feel like it's your own, like I, I may not be justified, but for whatever, like the act itself may not be something huge, but you feel for whatever reason you were wronged, and that expectancy of an apology that may never come. That is, I will say for me, because I've gone through it myself. That takes a lot of prayer and a lot of even just soul searching, because you want to be so angry at this person for whatever the act was, whatever it was. Let's say they wronged you. You want to be so mad, and
So
you
we're
want to
on
be
the
so
side.
mad for so long.
We're on the side of fault finding. We're not on the
Right.
side of forgiveness at that point.
There is no forgiveness because you were wronged until they come to you and be like, hey, I'm sorry for XYZ. And you actually are like, okay, we actually talked about it. There's always going to be fault finding. But
So
for me,
you're looking for the apology, or you're
most
looking.
people are.
Does that hold you from forgiveness? Does an apology hold you from forgiveness? Now, of course, that goes into, you and I have talked about closure. We won't go into that on this
Yeah,
conversation.
not today.
When you are fault finding, I'm trying to forgive, but I remember that you did this, and I remember that you did that. Do you necessarily have to um have the apology for everything you've listed that this person has done wrong? Do you have to have an apology for all that?
You shouldn't. But most people are expecting that. So, like for
Okay.
me, I
Okay.
didn't get an apology.
Think of a personal, and I'm not going to ask you to
Oh
put
no,
that out.
we're not going to talk about it. But I have been through some stuff with people, family, whatever, and like I said, I was angry for at least a good year and a
Long
half, 2 years, long time, waste of time, long time. Um, and I still to this day have not gotten an apology. But here's
right.
the thing. I had to let that crap go because me personally, I could not grow. I could not do anything because that's all I wanted to think about. I wanted to be so angry that that's all that mattered. All I could think about was, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And one day like I said, it takes a lot of prayer, it takes a lot of thinking, meditating, everything. Because that's very hard, especially when that person has always been in your life. They're very close. They're pretty much,
Influential.
yes, very. And a major part of everything that you've grown up to be.
Right.
And for me, I had to let it go. It hurt. It hurt to let it go. But after I finally, and I'm gonna be honest about it, it wasn't like a one and done. Like I wanted to be like, oh, you know what, I forgive this person. I will say it crept back up. It crept back up. It crept back up.
Of course.
And I wanted to, because again, that person was around and it just kind of brought things back open. And it was like, you know what? If I'm really going to forgive her, I really have to forgive her and I really have to let it go. And so I
Yeah.
did. And at this
Learn
point,
to be
I
around.
have, right, I have done that, but I also choose to leave that person alone because I know it's not good for my mental health. Again,
Okay.
rejection for my peace.
Okay. So rejection sometimes does result in protection, or rejection is sometimes necessary for protection.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would definitely
I,
say yes.
I agree. I definitely agree. You again. My motto is you got to know who you're dealing with to know how to deal with them. And
Definitely.
if it comes to a point where you know who you're dealing with is somebody that you have to just totally protect yourself from, it is what it is. And even protection could mean cut communication, stuff like that. Now, again, this topic of tonight is about family matters and how to um, bring back family traditions and break
Mhm.
generational setbacks. But part of, don't get it misconstrued, part of breaking the generational setbacks is making sure that you understand uh, boundaries or binds, protection versus rejection, and forgiveness and fault finding. You
Mhm.
need to recognize what is what, so you know how to
Definitely.
deal with what, right? So
Yep.
now, what and I'm glad that you did that. What kind of leads me that kind of leads me into something, a little notation, and we don't have to stay on this. I just, because we are talking about somebody who can take leadership and understand where boundaries or binds, protection versus rejection, and forgiveness and fault finding come in. We are talking about somebody who can lead the family.
Yeah.
So let's call them family administrators.
Right.
Well, first, before I go too far, Travita tapped in. Hey, Travita. One of the things that she said is learning to communicate before an argument is important by explaining how you respond during conflict. Totally
Definitely.
agree. Cause, and that goes back to defining what negative dynamics of a family is, and which is
Mhm.
neglect, and abuse. Those are the top three things, or the top three negative dynamics of the family is conflict, neglect, and abuse. So, but I do believe that we kind of touched on that, is learning how to communicate is knowing who you're dealing with to know how
Yep.
to deal with them. You, different strokes for different folks. We all can all agree with that. How I talk to auntie is not how I'm gonna talk to sis.
Right.
How I'm gonna talk to grandma is not how I'm gonna talk to mom. It's just
Yep.
different.
Yep.
So, but we will agree that communication is key. How you
Mhm.
talk to somebody is how you talk to somebody, but how you talk to somebody is key, regardless.
Yeah.
So communicating with somebody is key. Find somebody who you can communicate with, and even if you have to decide how you need to communicate with them, like I tell my daughters all the time, it's not about what you say, it's how you say.
Yep.
I don't care
Always.
what you say to me. You better open your mouth and tell me about how the world makes you feel. However, you better not cuss. Don't fuss at me. There's ways to tell me,
No
don't
attitude.
just don't word vomit me, right?
Mhm.
You, let's talk about it. So, with my daughters, learn who you dealing with so you learn how to deal with them. You can't cuss and fuss at mom the way you may do your peers. So, but it doesn't mean not communicate. But
Right.
to go into that, it's about leadership and how to
Yep.
take leadership in family. So let's talk about the family administrators, the people who take leadership in families when somebody passes, or just deciding that this part of the generation needs this part of leadership. You may be in that part of, but the aunties or the uncles or the cousins that are in part of that leadership because the older people have passed away. The
Yeah.
older influences have passed away, or they're too young, or I'm sorry, they're too old to, or they're older to where they're not leading the way anymore. Right.
Hmm.
So now you are the family administrator, that you are the, what we call each other, the middle child. We got the old people with tendencies, but we walk in with the new people. So we're trying to incorporate how you can't disrespect the old school while swagging with the new school.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, let me ask you this. When it comes to being a family administrator, taking the lead, whether it's because somebody passed or you just realize that family traditions or generational setbacks have started to rock your family bloodline. When it comes to being the family administrator, do you believe or do you think that that's something that's voluntary or something that's involuntary?
I think it's a little bit of both. It depends on the situation.
Mm,
Like in my household, like it's just me and my brother. Um, Growing up, I would say in our household, like my dad does have other kids, but they weren't in the same household. So if something were to happen to my parents, I
Now,
would
is your
assume
brother, I'm sorry, just real quick, is your brother older or younger?
my brother is younger, but he's taller than me. So I call him my little big brother.
Okay, so you're the big little sister. Right, right, right. So, even when it comes to taking administrative, you're saying as far as you taking the lead because you're older.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because I'm the eldest child, like I feel like I would be the administrator if something were to happen to our parents or whatever. But he may feel like, you know what, I'm the man of the family now, and I feel like I need to take over. Like I may not be emotionally stable to take over as administrator. It really depends on
Right.
why someone is taking over, like what the case is, if it is a death or whatever, are you emotionally able to take over that role? I know like when my grandmother passed away, it was my mother and my aunt or whatever. And my aunt is the oldest, and she gladly volunteered the administrator role because she was like, I can't handle it. That wasn't something that she was going to take over. And I will say my mother probably handled it the best of the two.
Mm,
But my question is like, what damage could it have done to my mother, like having to deal with that, being the baby of the family
that.
and having to take over, like when her mother passed. So like I said, that was a death situation versus, they get sick, and you have to take care of them. Like I said, there's different cases,
Same
but
difference though, because the way
yeah,
you're explaining now in this situation, so you're saying that your mom was the youngest and she took the responsibility.
yeah, my mom is the baby of four children. So, and
Mm,
my aunt is the second oldest girl of four children.
mm.
So, with
So
both of their mother,
your mom didn't take it on voluntarily. So did she
my
take
mom
it on
didn't volunteer.
voluntarily or
No,
involuntarily from your POV without like going all into it? Was that
yeah,
a voluntary position, like I'm just gonna take it on because I see nobody else can, or involuntarily as I have to take it on because nobody else can?
pretty much because at the time, both my uncles, which are the brothers, they both had passed already. So when my grandmother had passed, like it was like, okay, my aunt couldn't do it. My mom had to do it. So yeah, for my mom, it was probably more involuntary. Like, yeah, she stepped up and did it, but it wasn't her first choice. Whereas my aunt, she technically would have been the natural choice, but
Right.
volunteered my mother. So, like I said, for that, it depends on the case and can you deal with it or can't you? I would
Correct.
hope that I can, but who's to say? You know.
Correct. Well, just to touch on that, I am the baby of six. It's like a
Hmm.
Brady Bunch, three girls, three boys. Um, I am, Cindy, if you will, if that's the case. Um, and when my parents passed away, I'm not the one you go to. We
Yeah.
do have a family administrator, and she does a great job at keeping us informed and keeping us in, updated, motivated on what we need to do. When my parents passed, with each passing, my mom passed first and my dad passed second. Um, I will tell you that for her, it was more so voluntary.
Mm,
She didn't see anybody stepping up. And
mm,
she
mhm.
was determined to make sure that the family stayed as a unit, that the family
Yeah,
stayed strong, that the family stayed doing what they were supposed to do. So while I would say it was involuntary, um, and that's one of the two key points I brought up, by assuming, even voluntarily assuming the family administrator's position, you also assume the burdens and responsibilities.
yeah,
And she did. My sister is very well taking the burdens as well as the responsibilities. Now, I won't go as far as to say that she is taking the accountabilities, because for things that nobody else is doing, or making sure that they are staying on top of, or whatever else that the family needs, I encourage her to not take accountability on that. But
yeah,
she is very much assuming and voluntarily taking family administrator to make sure that the things are done fairly, the things are done right. She keeps us updated, and we salute her, because it's not that we necessarily, like you said, she just kind of fell into the position. She kind of stepped into the position.
yeah,
Like you said, I could assume and fall into the position because I'm oldest, but it doesn't mean that I'm capable.
yeah,
My brother could be more capable because he's more mentally stable. Not because he's a man, but because he's more mentally stable, and he just
yeah,
gonna hold those feelings where I'm gonna cry. My sister just decided that she needed to do what needed to be done. So salute to you, sis. You know who you are. Um, so I want to give a salute to all the family administrators. Just know that you have a big position, and that
mm,
there are, when you assume the family administrator, or assume or take the position of, or have been given, elected even, the position of family administrator, it does come with some stuff. And I know that all those who have assumed or taken that position, you already know what it does. And
yeah.
so you deserve the salute, because there are some of us,
That's
like Cindy
yeah.
Brady, who just can't do that. You know, we just cannot deal with what's going on, and everything that has to go along with uh, continuing the family. So,
Yeah,
salute to you
moving.
all. Salute to my sister. I love you to life itself again. Um, so just to move on, with talking about the family administrator, okay, the person that handles the things, handles the burdens, handles the responsibilities. Let's talk about who handles the dirty laundry.
Hmm,
Hmm. Who handles the dirty laundry? Because we know that there are some in all families, right? There's dirty laundry. And where we used to have big mamas, grandmamas, big aunties, that when I say handles dirty laundry, and I mean hand washes dirty laundry, washes dirty laundry, make sure that dirty laundry gets cleaned and pressed when it goes back out. I mean those who heard the gossip, heard all the misconceptions of what the POVs from each family member thought about a certain family member, and said, nah, that's not what it is. We're going to wash that clean. We're going to have a good Thanksgiving. We're going to have a good Christmas holiday. We're going to have a good birthday celebration. We're not going to talk about that. So, just to give you an example, where my siblings, being the youngest, I got to see a lot of things before me. And my siblings always got together. While we're talking about family traditions, I forgot to point out my siblings. We had, rest in peace to Grandma Erin, much respect, rest in heaven. That she had almost every celebration at her house in Pasadena, California. Um, and we would all get together for almost every celebration. We would think of, they would think of celebrations to go and have there. And it was just because they knew it was good times, good vibes to have at her
Mhm.
house. So, but Grandma Errant was also, I believe, a laundry cleaner. That's why we could all go to her house. That's why we could all get along at her house, because she would not accept the gossip. She would not accept so and so is doing something bad, and we're going to condemn them as a family. We're going to talk about them. We're going to exile them. Grandma
Yeah.
Errant did not do that.
Right.
Grandma Errant said, "We gonna feed them. We gonna watch wrestling with them. We gonna have fun with them. We're going to provide a safe place for them, that when the world condemns them, we don't."
Right.
She provided that. So, where are the aunties and the grandmas, the administrators, the assumed, and the ones that do not want to take it, cannot take those? Where are the ones that are cleaning the dirty laundry? We know everybody who's airing out the dirty laundry, who knows whose laundry is dirty. We know all the people who are telling the dirty laundry, you know, but who is actually supporting and stopping the gossip to say, "I don't care that JJ was locked up last week. He's free this week. So because it's free this week, we're gonna have a dinner. We're gonna have a, you know what I'm saying?" And I would refer to a Bible verse, but because I can't remember it correctly, I won't do that falsely. But it was like, yes, my son was gone and he did his life wrong, but when he came back, it was a
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
it was a moment of celebration, because I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
We
hold his
celebrated.
faults against him. I'm
Yeah.
gonna celebrate the fact that he came back and he was alive. He came back and he was well. He came back and he wanted to come back.
Yeah.
So it comes back to, where are the grandmas and the aunties? We know everybody who's uh everybody who used to clean out our dirty laundry. But those who call themselves assuming the administrator and making sure that you make that the family goes right, i.e. you possibly assuming the um role of administrator or not, can you make sure that you or your brother do not allow the extra family to talk about, well, your mom this and that, and your dad this, and you do not, you clean the laundry, the
It's a
gossip that
big one.
comes, are you able to handle that? And that goes to what you were saying. Excuse me, I don't know if I can handle that. My brother may be better at that,
Maybe.
but
But here's the
I'm not
thing, no
deal
one's
with it.
cleaning it.
I'm not going to deal with family who wants to talk about fault finding, not
Right.
forgiveness.
Right.
Because why are we still talking about people at fault who ain't here to correct it?
That
Why are we
it's no
still
longer a
finding
thing.
fault in people and even in bloodlines that are no longer here to correct it? You're not even giving them a chance. So really, you just gonna fault find to the day you die, because they already gone.
Right.
So you're gonna fault find to the day you die. Okay. So, um, just assuming family administrator, and I just wanted to get your point on if you feel like it was voluntary or involuntary. And I understand it's just you two siblings versus I am the baby, and it was not the oldest that assumed the responsibility. It was the second oldest, but whatever she felt like she could contribute to the family and she could find some type of balance in the family, she did that, and she's doing that. So salute to
Mm-hmm.
you, sis. Thank you for becoming the family administrator. It's not an easy position, especially with both parents gone and there's still family matters to settle. So I want to give a salute to my sister who is assuming the family administrator, and it's not easy to face all the facts, let alone get all of them. So amen to you. But I just want to throw out there, like we were just talking, if you're going to assume a position, you got to kind of take everything that comes with it. And I
Yeah,
do believe in my sister taking the administrator. We all talk to her. We all tell her our indifferences, our feelings about things, and she delegates as need as needed. I'll tell whoever I need to make sure that there's not conflict, and I will do what I need to do about conflict to make sure that there's no longer conflict. I'm not the one.
yeah,
I'm not the one. I will tell you, as the Cindy, as the baby of six, I'm still dealing with my own conflicts in my own family. So,
right,
in my own small in-house family. As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord, but it is I'm dealing with my own. So I appreciate the older sibling taking that administrator role and allowing us siblings under her to see where we can jump in and where we can support, but not necessarily have to take over the whole thing. So salute to you.
right.
Um, but moving past that, and being the administrator and being the person who probably has to wash the dirty laundry, make sure that nobody's feeling ill about anybody, make sure that
Right,
nobody talks ill about anybody, make sure that when we meet that everybody's good. Again, salute to the family administrators of the family that continue to try to get family dinners together, continue to try to get celebrations together. Salute to you, even when you know you have a family of conflict.
yeah.
Salute. But it kind of reminded me of even those who are assumed voluntarily or involuntarily the administrators of the family. How do you go about delegating that? So you don't have kids. You have a younger brother. Does he have kids?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so nobody has kids just yet, but y'all both young enough and spry enough to go ahead and have them. So it's
Right.
coming, but nobody has kids yet. Now, I'm going to touch a little bit about generational favoritism. So while you are the administrator and you're making decisions and you're making sure that family does what they're supposed to do, and you know who you're dealing with, so you know how to deal with them and you know who to put in position of certain things. Okay, you know, the administrator, just like a boss at a job, finds the strengths and the weaknesses of the family. Okay, I need you to do this. I need you to do this, and you can't do this. All those things. Then you come to a generational favoritism. And let me just kind of explain that. And it can be circumstantial. What I mean by that is, as you are the administrator, let's just say that you had more than one sibling and you got along with one sibling more than you got along with the other.
Mm-hmm.
One sibling has children, the other sibling has children, but because you get along with the one sibling more, you're more adherent to their kids and what they do, and you know you're going to the games and you're more involved versus how you are with the other siblings' children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. um this is where I'm talking about being the family administrator takes a lot of responsibility, because if that's the case, I mean, how do you delegate that? How do you make sure that you stay focused of that? And I happen to know from personal family experience that it can affect confidence. It can affect family union. Um, it can affect a whole lot of things. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's purposeful. There are some families that put a certain child on a pedestal and put another child under the ground, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just how. But how do you think? And I don't know if you've experienced it or know anybody else. There are there are generational favoritisms, and I say generational because they treat their children a certain way, which means that they're going to treat the children of their children a certain way, and
Yep.
that's whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So my end, I'm the baby of six. my children very late, to the point where I can honestly say that my parents treated me and my babies as the babies.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, there were differences. There were differences. We all acknowledged them. So how, as an administrator, and again, it might be hard for you to even like fathom or how you do it, because your younger brother does not have kids yet, so it's not even like you could say, oh yeah, I love his kids and I'm just in love and I don't care what happens to the rest of the world. But generational favoritism, um again, can be circumstantial. How do you feel like, as an administrator, even if you had to assume the responsibility, you not having kids, your brother not having kids, how can you make sure that where you or your brother were treated as the favorite, we won't go into that, if there wasn't even that, how do you make sure that, as the administrator, that you start to even out the playing field, that you make sure that favoritism doesn't happen?
I don't really know. I mean, besides just being equal to everybody, like, I mean, I experienced it because on my side of the family, like, they're like my uncle's kids, like on my mom's side, we didn't really deal with my uncle's kids. Like, they just, I know that I have them, but I don't know. Like, we just didn't, they're a lot older than me. Like, I've met a couple of them. It's just, there's so many that we don't really deal with them. So I get the whole generational favoritism, but you gotta break that cycle somehow,
That
some
part.
way.
That part.
Like, regardless of me and my brother or whatever, it can't happen. Like, you gotta break the cycle some way, however you do it. Unfortunately, you can't continue down that path because it leads to separation within the family. It leads to discord within the family. Nobody wants to get along because, oh, so and so is liked better. Family functions are weird. Like, it gets weird. So, like I said, it just really needs to stop, and we need to, like, just do better.
Well,
But
one
I
of
don't
the
know
things,
how you would do that.
well, I mean, and everything in life is a process, right?
Yeah,
Muscle gain, family gain, whatever. But in this particular situation, it's about family gain. And everything is a process. And one of the things that you and I talked about in the generational setbacks, the importance of recognizing a generational setback is the
yeah,
awareness and action to make a conscious decision to change.
yeah.
So even if that's what was going on in your family, you only have you and your brother.
Right,
If your brother was to decide to have children first, then you got to know that you got to make certain changes to make sure that that doesn't happen. That there's
right,
no favoritism. That there's no whatever the case may be. If you had children first, depending on who decides to be the administrator, you have to decide who's going to make the decision of that's not going to be a zoned in thing that
right.
you got treated better. So I totally understand that. So um, but again, the importance of generational setbacks is to be aware of what's going on and make sure that you're aware to make a conscious change. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
I like it. That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna keep on moving. But I did want to make the points of generational favoritism. I like this particular child, or my youngest and their children were closer to me than my oldest and their children. And love is
yeah,
love. Love is patient. Love is
yeah,
kind. I have to make that list. So every time that I annotate this, that I make sure that everybody is aware of what love is and what it
yeah,
comes to. Love conquers all. So it does not matter who is who. If you love, you love. I have two daughters, and they're 3 years apart. And one thing that I have to understand is I understand that the oldest will come into things in her life before the youngest will. Right.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what I do is I communicate to them both about how I understand and how they need to understand that
yeah,
one will come into things in life sooner than the other. she will drive at 16, or she will try to get her permit at 16. You can't get yours at 13.
Right.
But I open the lines of communication to make sure that we understand that the levels are still there.
Yeah.
Now, the world may separate you, but in as far as my house, we will serve the Lord. And therefore, I'm going to make things equal and fair. And so, yes, it's fair for her at 16 to learn how to drive and start to look for her driving permit,
Right.
and for me to take her out on the weekends. You at 13 don't get to be upset about that. Let
Right.
me talk to you about it. Let me talk
You'll
to you
drive
about how
soon enough.
you can't, but she can. But it's not that I'm just treating her like this and
Mhm.
treating you like this because you're
Mhm.
separate. No, let me give everybody an understanding of why 16-year-olds get certain privileges that 13-year-olds don't.
Right. Yep.
The
Yep.
administrator of my family, I have to assume that the burdens and the responsibilities of making sure that everybody understands their roles. Okay, moving along though. Let me ask this question, and we're gonna go ahead and round this up because I realize we have really talked past our time, and I'm okay with that. But the powers that be might not be. Thank you for keeping along with me, all y'all that have stayed along with me. Thank you so
Tune
much.
in.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So here is one of the last questions I do want to ask you and see what you feel about it.
Okay.
Can heredity stop your destiny? What do you think? Can heredity and what you've gone through, and we've seen different things coming up about racism and your bloodline and things going on in the tabloids, and I don't get the same privileges as other people do, races, whatever else. Can heredity stop your destiny? And that's just something that just came up, so I'm just gonna ask you.
Look, let me tell you something. It don't matter where you come from, who you are, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, it don't matter. I don't think that heredity can stop your destiny. I feel like if you believe it it'll happen.
Right.
Definitely not for me. I
Okay.
don't think it is.
Okay.
No.
I mean, and I'm glad to hear that from you, because that lets me know that when you do start your bloodline, that's what you're gonna teach.
Oh yeah.
No matter what we've come from, and your kids may learn about slavery and you know even capitalism and all those things that
Yep.
may make them feel inferior, or make
Mhm.
them feel that there's an hindrance, but because and you stand in, that doesn't affect us, you'll teach that. And that's again
Mhm.
what we're trying to talk about, what you can do to make sure that the generational setbacks or whatever else does not hinder your bloodline. So salute to
Right.
you for that. um as as far as I'm concerned, if I feel like heredity can stop your destiny, I do feel like a part of my DNA has God's DNA. That's
That-
why I'm able to wake up every morning. And as far as I got God's DNA, there's that's my heredity. That's my
Yeah.
heredity line. So of course nothing can stop me. There's no weapons that form against me can prosper. So
Never.
you can stop my destiny. There's nothing that can stop my destiny. And I tend to worry about the masses, if you will. But one thing that I am always reminded of is the spirit telling me, don't worry about the masses, because it's always the one that's gonna get you there. And if the one is God, I'm good with that. So
That.
listen, so I'm glad that we can agree that heredity cannot stop your destiny, because when you make a decision that you gonna faith it until you make it, or you have decided that you are part of a destination, a bloodline. I do
Yeah.
have a destination. You're good. So that's awesome. So thank you for that. Some of the
Sure.
things, and as we're coming to a closing, because again, we have talked so much over our time. I'm kind of glad, because this was a very sensitive, yet something that needs to be talked about conversation. You and I have talked about it before, and that's why we have gathered so many of these points. In our closing, I just want to talk about some of the effects of negative family dynamics. Negative family dynamics, some things can be conflict in the family, neglect in the family, and abuse in the family.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of the negative dynamics can be psychological distress, not being able to handle things well, negative outcomes with what's going to happen when you can't handle things well, and
Hmm.
just overall disconnect with which is the beginning of family generational setbacks. And I can tell you that I am one of those. I will disconnect in a minute and be okay with it. So,
That.
um, doesn't mean that it's okay. It doesn't mean that it's a
Right.
good thing. So
Right.
let's make sure that we do not disconnect from family, because once you forget about family, you can forget about everything.
Hmm.
Um, and the effects of positive family dynamics. A couple of family dynamics or positive family dynamics are good communication, which Miss Travita had pointed out, and that's awesome. Communication, love, which is something that I pointed out, and I love the word love, because again, love is patient, love is kind, love is everything that can be settled without discord. Um,
Yeah.
and then you have acceptance, and a lot of family conflict comes from not being able to accept what's going on in somebody else's life. It's not your life you live in.
Yeah.
Accept it, support it. You don't necessarily have to fund it.
That.
Accept it and support it. Right?
Right.
And then one of my things is, okay, so some of the effects of positive dynamics is it is crucial for individual and family well-being. Individual and family well-being.
Yeah.
So, supporting someone, communicating with someone, loving someone, and accepting someone is crucial for their well being. And it's not about, I did not point out correction, because one of the things I keep pointing out about correction is throw the first stone. But before you throw the first stone on somebody because you do not agree with whatever they have to say, and I'm not even finna get into that because we already know what's going on in the world about how we deal with people that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's learn about how it actually affects our well-being. How we can communicate, how we can say things, how we before we get to our second amendment, I mean, damn. We have freedom of speech. I can say what I want to say, according to the algorithms.
Say the right thing.
Whatever I want to say according to the algorithms, right? So, but it is crucial for individual and family well-being. So, definitely positive dynamics of communication, love, and acceptance. That starts with that. Psychological flourishing, being able to, expand your mind because you
Mhm.
have been accepted by the ones that love you. You kind of, it goes back to, if you pay attention to the ones that love you, you don't care about who don't. If
Right.
you know who's for you, you don't care about who's against you. So
Yep.
if you're able to focus on psychological flourishment, um, and I guess it starts with your family, then you can go ahead and enhance yourself
Yeah.
in all those situations. um, and also healthy development in children, and is a key happiness to adults. So just really, in my opinion, like you said, if you start early in routines, it kind of just develops in adults.
Yeah.
um, like Grandma Erin, it was great that she started us off. We know who we are and how we are as a family.
Yeah.
When we get together, we can get together. We just
Yeah.
haven't. And it takes a long time for us too, but we know how to get together. So, family,
Yeah.
you know how to get together, you know how to love each other. Make sure that you're doing that, because family matters. Black lives matters, white lives matters, all lives matters. Family matters.
Yeah.
We all we got.
Yep.
So make sure you're doing that. So, in our conclusion though, or to further in our conclusion, where do we start, Jazz? Like, how do we start to do these things? How we've talked about all the different conflicts and stuff, but where do we, or where can we actually start to do some things? Where would you start?
I mean, it's really simple. You got to start with yourself. So when you heal yourself within, you
Mm,
can also heal your bloodline. So
mm, amen.
you have to,
Mm,
a lot of people can't even, like we're talking about forgiveness and fault finding. A lot of people have that within themselves and they can't
mm,
let that go for whatever reason. Hey, I messed up for whatever reason. They can't let it go. They fault find in themselves. They can't forgive themselves. So I feel like if you can forgive yourself, if you can love yourself, love is kind. Love yourself because we do the worst to ourselves. We can talk about ourselves so badly to ourselves
that's true.
and it can be detrimental to us. So I think, like I said, if you can heal yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, you can love other people, you can love everything else around you. But it starts with you. It always starts with you as an individual. It don't matter.
Mm, I can concur in that. If trauma can be passed down through generations, so can healing. So,
Yep.
um, if you can, period, mic drop. Um, so one of the things I thought about is, you can start to arrange unions. You know, when the next birthday celebration is coming up, holidays are coming up. I know that there's some people that you just find yourself not getting along with, but find yourself getting along with them, because you don't know. You don't know. I don't want to talk about some of the things that's been going on in the world that conclude and confirm that life is short and as we know it, because we
Yeah.
don't know time is the time and stuff like that, but we do know, and I give homage to those families that are grieving and going through a strengthening process where they have lost these loved ones in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We all know who they are.
Yep.
Um, but start arranging those unions. Start arranging, let's get together. Let's
Yeah.
start arranging, even if you know that there's going to be conflict, solve it then.
Yeah.
Like,
Get
there's
it done
so
with.
much going on in the world. I was even explaining to you, there's so much going on in the world that I'm so unbothered and anointed. Like, there's some things that we just got to get clear.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and do it. So, um, but that's one thing that I could think of that where we can start. We can start to arrange unions. Is Excuse me, is there anything that you can think of that we can, where families can start?
Oh yeah, my grandma on my dad's side, Grandma Finley. Shout out to you. I saw that you liked our post the other day. Love you guys. Sorry I haven't been available and around, but every month they do a video Zoom call. My aunt Audrey puts it together every single month. They basically celebrate, whoever's birthday it is for that month and then they talk about current family events, what's going on in Granny's world. She's always like, building and, painting houses and they got a museum. They're always like adding stuff to the museum. They're a huge part of the Choctaw Indian Nation. Like they're putting together powwows and, everything like that. So I haven't been on in a little bit, but I'm gonna start back. But start a video chat, get on FaceTime with your family. Like if you don't see them often or can't get around for holidays, Christmas, do a Zoom call. They got Google Meet now, Facebook Messenger, like do whatever you can to stay in touch. That's what y'all gonna do. Let's do it.
That do something, right?
Yeah,
Do something.
do something.
Um, and something that I'll throw in is support your family's interest and investment. Um,
That.
I will, just tap in a little bit on a personal thing. I have started a podcast. I have siblings, I have friends, I have family,
Whoop, whoop.
and I am, I feel stronger when I'm supported. some of y'all may not notice this, but I am nervous every time I come on, and I get a little loosened up after I get on here. But I can't lie. If I had more support from my family and friends, I might be a little more, excited. Stuff like that. I did get to hear from my families and stuff, and my families and friends on this topic, and they were kind of excited to hear this coming on. So I did get a little more excited, and that's just to prove uh, what the narrative that we're talking about. The more my family and friends got excited, and that shouldn't necessarily influence my decision or how I move in life and my journey, but the more excited they got about, hey, I can't wait to hear this, the more excited I got. So
Right.
understand that, and I'm grown. I'm grown as hell with kids. So understand that as excited as they got for supporting me was
Mhm.
as excited as I got for putting it out. So make sure that you support your family, you're supporting their interests, you're doing what you can do to make sure that you motivate them to and show them that the things that they're doing, that matters to you. Family matters, period.
Yep.
And one of the last points I just want to go ahead and sign out with is stop gossiping. Okay? We already talking about who is and who is not
Everything.
cleaning the dirty laundry. Like, how dare you add to the dirty laundry and you're not adding to clean it? You didn't even
It's
come
been
with your
piled
dirty.
up.
You take your dirty laundry to the laundry house. You bring your own laundry soap, right? You bring your own dryer sheets. If you're going to add to the dirty laundry, bring the shit that. Sorry, bring the stuff. I get real serious about this type of stuff. Bring the stuff that's gonna clean it too. You dig? Like, make sure
Thank
that
you.
you are doing
Bring
your
your own
due diligence.
supplies.
I don't like the way this felt in the family. I don't like the way this smelled in the family. I don't like the way this is dealing in the family. So yes, I am bringing it to the table, but I'm cleaning it too. And if you're
Yeah,
not going to put your effort to clean it, don't give your effort to dirty it.
that.
We don't need your extra dirty sprinkles. It's already dirty. So appreciate that. So and one last PS I'd like to add is that please remember that in these days and time, I don't care who you are or how you present yourself to be, that character builds culture and cultures build community.
Yeah.
So even though we're talking about building a family culture and structure and keeping it solid, we have to also think about how we are building a solid community and culture outside of our families. Um, it don't stop with our families. We still have to. Our families don't pay us. Our families don't build our houses. I mean, we could try to do stuff like that, but ultimately we go outside of our household to get business resolved. And that's again what bad to business is about. I know that
Right.
things seem bad outside in the world. I know that things seem confusing. I know that we don't want to talk about just everything. I may not be talking about what y'all want to talk about on the highest of the charts right now. But I mean, everybody's already talking about that. What I'm trying to talk about is bringing the bad, the diverse discussions, bringing all diverse discussions to business. We already know what the bad is, but
Mhm.
how can we bring it to business? So tonight, I want to thank my co-host Jazzy for joining me and bringing the bag of generational setbacks to business about traditional um,
Set
ongoings.
setups.
Traditional settings. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Positive traditional settings. So even in this conversation, again, didn't talk about the bad in the world, but because there's so much bad in the world, let's talk about how bringing it to business, bringing it to a better way of living is going to help us. So right now, we need to bring our families together. We have plenty of enemies and adversaries we could be fighting. Let that not be family. Okay.
Right.
So, with that being said, Jazzy, I love you. Thank you so
Love
much
you
for
too.
joining me tonight and having this discussion with me. I'm glad we finally brought this to the business table.
Of
Appreciate
course.
that. I am Shannon, Shining Saffron, signing out. And Jazzy, thank you so much for
I'm
joining me. I'll
Jasmine.
see you on the next episode of Bad to Business. Love y'all. Have a
Don't
good night.
forget to vote. Don't forget to vote.
Oh, I'm on that. Don't forget to vote for the Crew podcast, them
Hey.
Divas of the Airways, for the Kingdom Awards. I will be
Woo.
posting that on my page. Stay tuned. We have it up until October 1st. So thank you for that, Jazz. See, that's
Yep.
that support I'm talking about.
Yep.
I
Get out there and vote, everybody.
Let's go. So I will be posting that. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bad to Business, where we bring you all diverse discussions to business. Love y'all.
Hey.
Check y'all in the next episode. Good night.
Bye.
Bye bye.